Hey, what's up everyone? This is Part-Time Theories, and after many months, finally, Amphibia Retrospective Part 2 is out. Hopefully, and I don't cancel it midway. Okay, so I think I need to explain myself. Okay, I'm starting this in September, and I don't know when I'm going to finish it. The last one took me a month to watch and edit, more or less, but this time I have school, so yeah, I don't know how frequently I'm going to be recording. It's gonna be a problem, but I'll try to get it out at least by December, at least. And yes, Marcy's journal will probably include it in part 3, probably, because I will buy it and I will read it, and hopefully it doesn't take me a lot of time. But either way, it's finally time to start part 2. I'm starting this in September. If my calculations are correct, I should post this in December, hopefully. February at worst. February at worst. At least that's what I like to think. But yeah. Finally, let's go ahead and get into Season 2. But before that, I forgot to mention something. The beta designs. Yep, Polly, Hop Pop, and Sprig's beta designs were all revealed between Seasons 1 and 2. I forgot to mention that in the last video because I have a memory of a fish. Either way, let's get into them. Sprig's was definitely the most variating. You know, the red coat, the wooden sword and shield. What else? There was a green one. There was one very similar to the final one. Either way, I think those all look fine, but I kind of prefer the final design. Out of the ones here, I definitely prefer the blue one. It looks better in my opinion. Another one who got redesigned was a Hop Pop. He used to have glasses in one variation, and I'm pretty sure all of them had canes. I think they got rid of the cane because it definitely restricted his mobility, and you know, that's not good in a series where one of its main things is adventure and, you know, battles. But we haven't gotten into those yet, so I probably shouldn't talk about those. But yeah, Anne got done tremendously dirty in the final design. They removed her sweater. And I'm a big sweater fan. You can't just remove a character's sweater. I'm such a big sweater fan that I live in Florida and I use a sweater. And this is verifiable. I'm not going to bring testimony, but it is verifiable. But yeah, I would have definitely preferred if Anne kept the sweater. Oh yeah, and Polly. Polly is exactly the same. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it would be something. Either way, let's actually move on to Season 2. Attempt recording number 100 of getting back into the groove. Let's go. Handy Ann. I love it. I watched it on repeat for a week when it came out back in summer of 2020. That's how obsessed I was with its series. An obsession I think is an understatement at this point. The reason why I don't own a Hop Pop body pillow is a mystery. But that's besides the point. Handy Ann is a good episode. I think it does a good job reintroducing us to the characters and their quirks, and of course establishing how much they care for each other. Not to mention the plot points. Reintroducing past plot points like Sasha and the music box, and introducing new plot points like, you know, Newtopia. And oh yeah, Anne's powers got confirmed in this episode. Yeah, it was a theory back then. Remember when the girl's powers were only a theory? Those were the times before Season 2, God. Really nostalgic, to be honest. But either way, I think the episode is pretty good. It establishes how much Anne cares for the planners and how much she's grateful for all they've done for her. And the ending is pretty sweet. Either way, we part to Newtopia and the start of Season 2. This took 100 attempts to record, and I'm finally good with this one. I don't want to keep talking and screwing it up. Let's moving on.
As a matter of fact, I do.
That was weird.
Yeah, didn't feel right.
For the Road is an episode I love, but I struggle talking about since it's really simple. Like, yeah, it introduces the Frobo plot line, but what is it other than that? Sprig trying to do stuff, Hop-Pop preventing him to do stuff for, 10 minutes? It's fun, don't get me wrong, but, I don't know, just not much to say. Though it does show how wild Amphibia can get outside of the valley. I think that's a good thing. Oh yeah, bunch of Breath of the Wild inspiration. Definitely, like, man, you can tell. Either way, moving on. The Ballad of Amphibia Planner is really funny. I'd say the funniest episode so far. It's great. The jokes land really well. And I think this is a really good display of Amphibia's humor. The close-up, detailed faces, and the kinda sadist humor sometimes. To the lesser degree in this part of the season, we haven't reached that part yet, but trust me, there will be a point where the sixth sense of humor of this show is gonna get to you. Trust me. It's gonna be a point where if you don't laugh, you'll cry. But other than that, yeah, it's a pretty good episode. The only other interesting thing is that I thought this was the theater episode where Max Middleman starred, but yeah, no, we'll get to that much later. And Hunter is okay. It's an episode I remember a lot, but I think it's generally because of the mishype for this episode. Everybody was so sure this was going to be our first introduction to magic in Amphibia, generally because of the scene where Anne uses a blue arrow, but that was more an imagination sequence and just foreshadowing, I guess. But yeah, definitely fooled the fandom for a while there. Other than that, I think this episode is pretty good. The monster design is especially amazing. I love the Scorpileo's design. I think the episode really shines with Hallucination Sprig. He is really funny. And I love his song. The only other thing is that Anne just casually eats dirt in this episode. Really weird. Other than that, there's nothing really to comment on. Yeah, okay, let's just move on from that. Jokes Up Polly is a good episode. Generally because of Speedy Joe. He always cracks me up. One of my favorite side characters. But other than that, it's pretty okay. I do have to say one thing this episode does right is that Polly doesn't get annoying to the point where it annoys the viewer himself. This is something a future episode will do wrong, and I'll be sure to call it out. But this episode itself, pretty good. A Caravan Named Desire is a good episode. In it, the gang meet a town-to-town theater, which Hop-Pop joins due to his dream of becoming an actor, but the town-to-town theater ends up being a scam which just rob people's banks while they watch their shows. I think the episode is overall pretty funny, and shows how sometimes Hop-Pop's desires can get in the place of his morals, but yeah, I think it's still pretty good. Other than that, this episode stars Max Middleman. Those who don't know who Max Middleman is, he's the voice of Arataki Ito, the best character to ever come out against an Impact, and my main. Like, of course this episode has to be great. He's in it! But other than that, I'm recording this the day before the Desert Area and Sumeru comes out. And funny enough, this episode features a desert. Yeah, kind of a coincidence. Quarler's Pass. Remember this place? It'll come back in the future. You know what I've realized lately? Most of these episodes have like 30-second songs for some reason. I didn't mention it in Caravan Named Desire, but it had one in the middle of it. I mentioned the one in Anhunter, and now there's this one. Pretty odd. Either way, it's a good episode. It's our first introduction to the Ulms, which, remember them, they'll be important later, and establishes we're halfway to Utopia. It also has that famous clip.
That's great, Sprig. Anyway, we were just getting into the nitty-gritty. Now that you guys are back, we can talk about Anne's boyfriend again.
I forgot to mention that when Sprig accidentally stepped on Polly's tail, she instantly insulted him, and like in 30 seconds we're back in I will kill you and hate you mode after being completely fine with each other throughout the entirety of the episode. Yeah. Toadcatcher. This episode definitely solidified Grime as one of my favorites. I mean, come on, he's basically Thor in Endgame, but funnier. And also a lot shorter lived. Seriously, I did not like that he was fat in the final battle. Just my opinion. Either way, yeah, this episode is pretty good. It also helps give Sasha some likability and relatability that she desperately needed if she was going to be redeemed. Seriously, that mean girl stereotype was not going to stick if she was supposedly going to be redeemed by the end of the series. But either way, in this episode they are hunted by General Yunnan, Scourge of the Sand Wars, defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, the youngest Nit to ever become general in the great Utopian army. I actually remembered that before the episode started. Yeah, she says it like 4 times in this episode, and trust me, it may get old for you, but it sure doesn't for me. Either way, this also establishes Grimes and Sasha's main goal in the future. Take over the world! A bit generic, but I guess it fits. Either way, Toadcatcher is a good. And hey, I made an entire review of Toadcatcher without mentioning JoJo. Oh, fuck. Storm's sensitivity is pretty good. While he's always a character I enjoy watching and getting to meet his family is interesting. Other than that, where is my lore and backstory on the Peacock Man? Where is it, Matt? Wax Museum is okay. This is probably a lot of people's favorites because it's a Gravity Falls crossover. 4 years after Gravity Falls ended. But yeah, it's okay in my opinion. It has some funny segments and it's pretty entertaining, but it ultimately doesn't serve anything. Even the Skipman plot doesn't lead to much. But either way, yeah. It's pretty okay. The reason I'm keeping this segment short is because 1, this episode is really just filler and filled with Gravity Falls references. And the next one is very important. Like, really, I'm probably going to be talking about it for at least a minute. Marcy at the Gates is amazing. I can't explain why it's amazing, because it won't do it justice. Just go watch it and be amazed by it. Either way, I kind of still have to talk about a few things it introduces, because if not, you won't understand anything that comes forward. Because let's just say the characters and themes that this episode introduces is kinda, not to say important, but completely indispensable for the series moving forward and are key figures in every future story arc, including its ending. So yeah, this episode is pretty important. Don't skip out on it. So let's start with the characters. Marcy. Marcy is the 3rd girl that got warped to Amphibia by the Calamity Box, and she casually spawned inside the city walls. Nice. Either way, Anne and the Planters end up meeting her when they arrive at Utopia. She's charming, she's amazing, she's smart, she's quirky, she's clumsy, she is lovable. Perfect character for my second favorite. I'm sorry, Sasha's too good. And, yeah. I love you, Marcy, but not more than Sasha. I'm sorry. Another character we get introduced here is Lady Olivia, a character that acts radically different to her future appearances. Who knows, maybe she was just stressed. Another character we get half introduced to is Andreas, the main villain of the series, and trust me, they don't even try to hide it, even sporting in the classic chessboard. I swear, Disney, if you put in another chessboard, I'm gonna take a chess class because I love all these franchises. Either way, yeah, we don't get much introduced to him here, only his voice, which is the same as the Princess and the Frog villain. Kind of fitting, to be honest. Either way, another key theme the series introduces is Sasha. Okay, yeah. Despite not appearing in the episode, Sasha is all over this episode. Like, literally, in dialogue, in characters' way of acting, to put it some way. She is all over it, and she doesn't even make an appearance. Hell, not even a post-credit scene. Either way, yeah. It definitely explains how much of an effect Sasha has had over Anne and Marcy and the Planters. And Anne and Marcy because, you know, they don't know where to go from now. Sasha always made the plan. And now they're kind of doing it them. And yeah, in their weird, charming way. And for the Planters isn't Sprig, I mean, because god damn, Sasha let this kid traumatized. To put it bluntly, but yeah. He does not want Anne to suffer like she did with Sasha, and he is a keen eye. And another testament that this episode makes is how much Sprig hates her and detests her. An element that will be for sure seen in an episode where we'll see the characters interacting with each other and solving their differences. Right? Right? We'll get to that a bit. Well, don't get to that, but I'll comment on it later. Scavenger hunt is okay. We got to have some fun around with Marcy solving a puzzle, but I don't know why it feels kind of stupid that the king sends a message through a puzzle. He could have just sent the message directly instead of this. It's kind of absurd. But, hey, he'll do him. Let's move on.
Ooh, look guys, I'm a strawlrus, like a walrus, but with straws.
What's a walrus?
I love this guy!
Boy, did that line not age well. Either way, the Planters check-in is our official introduction to King Andrias. It lasts about a third of the episode. The rest of it is dedicated to Sprig having fun around the hotel the Planters are staying in, since they were given a credit card with unlimited money. And granted, it's pretty fun. There's some cool references here and there, but ultimately it's pretty fun. Oh yeah, Mabel's voice actress guest stars in this episode as Bella, and she's pretty fun too.
Thanks, kid. It's people like you that make me ever so slightly more positive about the future.
Okay. That line is amazing if you've watched Gravity Falls. Just amazing. This episode is pretty good. Lost in Utopia is...
Kick in the neck! Yoink!
Oh boy.
Yeah, that about sums it up. Oh yeah, and this is amazing. Sprig Gets Schooled is okay. It's fun, it has kind of a few wacky moments, but yeah, that's about it. It's not that it's bad or boring, it's just that, I don't know, there's nothing much to talk it to. It's kind of a fun montage of Sprig going to school, failing, and then a prison break. Yeah. Kind of hard to make jokes of it too.
Forget higher learning or big opportunities. You belong at the bottom of the socioeconomic barrel with me.
Yay! Wait, is this a good thing? Oh, what the heck. Yay!
This is Amphibia. I can make jokes about anything. Little Frogtown is pretty good. I always love noir settings, and seeing Amphibia tackle one with its humor is amazing. I love it. Not one of my favorite of the seasons, but definitely a good one. Moving on.
Looks like I hit a dead end. Without a source on the sauce, or even an address, I was out of luck. Well, that works.
Hopping Mall is amazing. Easily one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. And you know what? It only truly achieved it because of the final scene. The rest of the episode, not to disregard it completely, but it's still fun and entertaining, but it's like night and day compared to the last scene. It's kind of incredible. Either way, I do plan to make a future video talking about this scene exclusively, but it'd be a disservice not to talk about it now. So let's go. Anne is sitting in the balcony on her own, thinking about her family as she holds the gift she got for her mother. As this is happening, Sprig wakes up from a nightmare, according to him. He goes up to Anne and asks her about her mother. Anne starts talking about her, all the things she liked, all the happy memories she has about her, and in my favorite line that she delivers and that she says in this entire show, she sums it up perfectly.
She annoyed me sometimes too. Like, in the kitchen, she'd always sing these goofy Thai love songs, and man, was her singing bad. Woof, that woman was beyond tone deaf. You know, the funny thing is, right now, I would give anything just to hear her singing.
After this extreme display of emotions, Sprig says that she is lucky that she got to meet her mother, because he never got to meet his, and that he somehow misses her even though he never met her. He asks Anne if this is even a possibility, but cuts himself off, saying that it's ridiculous, before Anne hugs him and they both cry into the night sky. I think it's genuinely genius, and it adds a tone of realism that Amphibia makes it feel special. That is why Amphibia is so great. And I'm not lying that that line of Anne's is my favorite in the entire show. I love it. Because when you really think about it, Amphibia should, from a human perspective, it's terrifying. A child going missing out of nowhere after her birthday for 3 months, that sounds terrifying. And it definitely adds a layer of tragedy to the girls getting trapped in Amphibia, despite how much fun they have and how much goofy the show is. Yeah, it's still pretty sad. Either way, time to move on to the next one. Sleepover to Endo Sleepovers is pretty good. In this episode, Anne and the Planters go to a sleepover with Marcy, in which they do a dare in which they go to the basement of the castle, which is forbidden. For some reason. Well, basically they encounter these weird creatures, which, I'm gonna ruin the surprise, they're called ghostfish, which basically chase them around, and basically when they see their own reflection in the mirror, they become physical and can be defeated. That's the gist of it. Though the really important beats of this episode happen in the background. I'm gonna summarize them all here. In the basement, we found a bunch of coffins. I could count 7, though there could be more. A garden with a chained up moss man, and a picture that somebody really hated. Wonder if this is some kind of foreshadowing that this episode is trying to tell us. Either way, another important thing in this episode is Sasha. Again, I mentioned this in Marcy at the Gates, but she's really all over this episode. The girl's constantly trying to make what Sasha would do, reminding Anne that she needs to make things right with her and, you know, get her back so they can all go back home. Either way, it's a pretty fun episode. Oh my god, dude. A Day at the Aquarium is a bunch of stuff. It has more stuff than Reunion. And I have to talk about it all in one go. Okay, let's go for it. Okay, so the episode begins, and immediately we start up with the audience with the king. He reveals to us that the gems can be recharged through 3 temples found in a book. Either way, the book only gives the location of one of these temples, and Marcy and Anne are told to prepare to go. But the planters have to leave for harvesting season. Wow, hop really. And Anne wants to go with them. But Marcy says she shouldn't because it doesn't make sense. So this episode immediately turns into Anne and the Planters' last day together. Yep, we're going for that. Either way, this episode is amazing. It is filled with season 1 memorabilia and references. I got a lot of nostalgia watching it when it first came out, and I still get a lot of nostalgia watching it today. The fact that the thing that makes them break completely is the first animal they face is pretty cool in my opinion. Either way, after a long day at the aquarium, yeah, they get banned for life from the aquarium. Of course they do. It's the Planters and Anne. What did they expect? Either way, they get ready to leave. The Planters leave for harvesting season, and after a warm-filled goodbye, Marcy tells Anne that she can go with them because she's trustworthy to get the music box and they need to make sure it's okay. You know, you would have saved Anne the very long jog of catching up to a car if you had just said that earlier, you know? You could have saved her some energy there. Utopia is huge, but either way. As Anne goes to Wartwood once more, Marcy is spoken to by King Andreas, giving her some sort of proposition. Wonder what this could lead to. Okay, this episode gives us a lot, okay? It's kind of really hard. I love it because of all references and, you know, them crying every 5 minutes definitely reflects my life right now, especially with the excruciating pain my arms are giving me, but that's another thing entirely. But, yeah, this episode is pretty good. A really good mid-season finale. Yeah, I'm going to take a little break from recordings. Again, my arms hurt a lot, so for different reasons and not for any weird ones, despite how weird I am. But either way, let's move on to the next episode, The Shut-In. I hesitated to talk about The Shut-In because even though it's a pretty good episode and has a lot of fan service in many ways and has a lot of pretty good jokes and a pretty neat switch up to the end credits, it's not canon. At least I'm pretty sure it's not. Like, Matt probably put a timeline that The Shut-In could hypothetically fit in, but I still think it's not canon, generally because of the ending. Either way, it is one of the darker Disney specials for Halloween, I can't deny that. Phineas and Ferb, this ain't. But either way, it's still a pretty good episode, and it kind of marked Amphibia's official hiatus. I don't remember exactly, I think it was April 19th when the show came back. So yeah, let's move on. This part reminded me of a regular show. And that's about it. Night Drivers. I forgot this episode even existed. Like, it's a good episode, don't get me wrong, it's good, but I think it's kind of forgettable. Like, Zachariah Nettles is a character that is rarely mentioned again and is only an Easter egg in the future. Pretty weird. Either way, I still think this episode is okay. I think it gets overshadowed by the next one by a lot. But, yeah. I personally don't blame myself for forgetting this episode. It's just kind of overshadowed. Like, if this was in season 1, I could see this being a lot more memorable. But, yeah. Overall, pretty mid. I'd say this is the worst episode of season 2, and it's pretty alright in my opinion. It even has some pretty good moments. So yeah, definitely setting a good precedent. Moving on.
Nice! Using Toadie's stone body as a shield.
Wait, he's stone?
Return to Wartwood is probably my favorite episode of the season so far. Who knows? Maybe it'll be my favorite by the end of the season. Either way, I love this episode a lot. It's not only the return to the prime location of the show from season 1, in which many of the main adventures took place, but it's also really wacky and fun. Like, the Planters take a really mundane issue and push it to its absolute extreme. The fact that they come to the conclusion that they can summon a demon to solve their problem is really funny. I also found really funny a bunch of the jokes, like the Stone Toady joke, the ending joke with Sprig, and, you know, the whole ritual part to me was god-bustingly hilarious. It's even in the background of my channel, if you check it out. Don't know how many people have actually seen it, but I personally love this episode. It's really funny, it's wacky, definitely best of the entire series so far. It'll probably change because, boy, the Season 2B pick up the pace. Trust me, you'll see. Moving on. Ivy on the Run is, kind of boring. It's pretty generic, and it's interesting to know some of Felicia's past, but other than that, yeah, no. It's kind of weird that Anne knew Muay Thai before coming to Amphibia, considering she has never used it. She's always been more of a sword user. She's never done any physical attacks. But okay. Moving on. After the rain. Ooh boy. Okay, so Anne finds out that Hop Hop hid the music box in the front yard and never sent it to some contacts. So she gets pissed at him for lying to her this entire time. And yeah, she leaves, but then comes back and Hop Hop explains that, you know, he did it to protect the planters and recalls the time when Sprig and Polly's parents died when he was out and some herons attacked and supposedly they got eaten by herons. And Anne forgives him, and yeah. This is the most controversial episode of the series, and honestly I can tell why. At first I didn't know, but after Amphibia's ended, yeah, I can tell why. Because there's two ways to look at it. Introspectively or retrospectively. In introspective, it's pretty good. It does have some flaws here and there. But in retrospect, this episode is quite inconsistent with the rest of the series. Let's start off with the introspective view, where it's pretty okay. In introspective, this seems like a good episode, you know? The characters have solid motives to do what they do, and have solid motives to forget Hop Hop. Hop Hop have solid motives to lie. There are some flops here and there, like Anne being willing to abandon Sprig and Polly. Polly, her sister, kind of, and Sprig, her best friend, and the only one who hasn't lied to her in a big anime betrayal way. So, yeah. Kind of a dick move and really out of character in my opinion, but that can be overlooked, you know? This episode is still good. It's another thing that it's still pretty funny, and I love Bill Farmer's performance. It's pretty good. But in retrospective, there are a few flaws. One, Anne does this exact same to her parents in Season 3. Yep, she literally lies to her parents about huge important information that they could have definitely wanted to know. Like, really important information. Another thing she does is instantly forgive Sasha for betraying her twice and trying to kill Sprig and Hop Hop and taking over Amphibia. Or attempting to. Well, she did for like 30 minutes, but still. She took less time to forgive Sasha and Marcy, which, to be fair, Marcy also had solid motives, but what she did was worse than Hop Hop, but she had some sort of rationale and comprehension. But Sasha didn't. She did it because she wanted power and control. This looks really inconsistent in retrospective because she took 3 seconds to forgive Sasha and 2 episodes to forget Hop Hop. I mean, Marcy's more comprehensible, you know. She was in distress, and I'm pretty sure Anne would have understood that. But come on, this is stupid. She didn't even let Hop Hop explain himself. But she left Sasha explain herself? This is really inconsistent. When I first saw this episode, it was when it came out. and I thought it was good. And in introspective, it's still good, but in retrospective, no. You know, yeah, well, I guess I should probably mention that we are starting the temple quest next episode, and that this episode has ramifications in that one. So, yeah. Moving on. The first temple is okay. Okay, as I mentioned in After the Rain, it is not that good in retrospective. It's good in introspective, with its flaws, but still good. But in retrospective, it's kinda not as good. The same thing kinda happens with this episode, but to a lesser degree. Mainly because the main conflict of this episode revolves around the previous one. I already ranted about how it doesn't make sense that it takes 2 episodes for Anne to forget Hop Pop. And not really, but it takes her, again, 1 page of a book sold separately to forgive Sasha, despite betraying her twice, and a few minutes to forgive Marcy. Like, again, Marcy had some rationale to her, but Sasha didn't. It should have taken 5 episodes to forgive Sasha if we're going to stay consistent, to be honest. I'm going to talk about this more, Sasha, in Season 3, but, again, I just don't like how inconsistent it was. If Anne would have taken a while to forgive Sasha, again, 5 episodes, it would have been fine. This episode wouldn't have been as, I don't want to say bad because it's not really bad, just inconsistent. Other than that, I do believe that the rest of the episode is pretty good. We got to see the mule from the intro for the first time in the temple, and I believe the temple's really cool design. I like Marcy's arc of, being mindful of the things happening to the people around her. I think that was pretty well done. And it even has an ending scene. In it, we see General Yunan reporting to King Andreas about a supposed meeting of the Toad Lords, which apparently is very bad. But it's interrupted by Marcy's message that despite losing, they managed to recharge the gem. After hearing this, Andreas goes down to his basement, in which he scares some shadowfish, and he greets a giant orb with a lot of eyes, and calls him Lord. I'll name drop this guy later, it's epic when it happens in the show. Either way, what the hell? This was one of my first theory videos, and it's kind of nostalgic seeing this scene again. Of course, the episode doesn't hold up as much, but that's not the fault of the episode itself, more of decisions made later. But I still think this scene is pretty effective at introducing us to, well, the main villain of the show, and also, of course, a future episode, which is the meeting of the Toad Lord, which I will talk about later. Moving on. New Wartwood is filler. It has some funny moments, but other than that, it's rather unremarkable. I do like the scene where Mayor Toadstool takes, partial blame. I like that. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of just there. It's not bad by any means, but it's just fine.
Balloon, Toady.
It drifted away, sir.
It what? Ow, dang it. That's the 3rd time that's happened today. Toady, you're promoted to balloon now. Woo! Well, I hope we can do business soon. Fly me away, Toady. Hiya, Toady.
Me and Anne have changed. We're different now.
Some of us even sound different.
What?
You know what, I have to agree after watching all these episodes in order. Either way, Friend or Phobo is entertaining. It has some fun moments, some pretty fluent animation, but it really only aims to introduce Frobo, which is generally only used in fight scenes because he can only speak like a few words. But either way, he can be fun sometimes. But other than that, remember when I said that Chalkstop Polly did something good when making Polly only annoying to the characters and not the audience? Well, somehow they fail at that here, and Polly's an extreme dick to everyone in the first 5 minutes. She's so unlikable in this episode. If this was the only episode of Amphibia you watched, or was the first, I wouldn't be surprised if you thought she was the worst character ever. Really, I wouldn't. Either way, Wartwood got destroyed a second time this episode, so yeah, pretty normal on schedule to be honest. Either way, moving on.
A store just for seeds? Why, we could be there for hours!
Don't tempt me.
Have fun in there!
You know, with that title, many people thought it was a Sasha episode. Other than that, there's nothing much to talk about. Yeah, no, despite this seemingly important ending, this is filler. Nothing of this comes back at all. He doesn't even show up in the Toad Lord's meeting. Either way, I do think this episode is still pretty funny. Has some pretty cool moments. But other than that, yeah, it's okay. Also, I'm starting to realize this is mostly filler. I don't know when the next temple will be, but hopefully soon. But the next episode is Maddie and Marcy, so I don't know. Moving on.
Any questions?
Kind of. Several.
What's the sitch with the parking tickets?
Maddie and Marcy is okay. It has a few funny moments and an entertaining story, but that's about it. The only other thing to comment here is that Wartwood gets destroyed. Again. This is getting old already. The second temple. You know, out of all the episodes regarding the temples, I think this is the weakest one. Yes, in retrospect, the first one had its problems, but it wasn't completely unremarkable. This episode is just kind of Anne going through some trials. You know, there wasn't really any change in her thoughts like Marcy. It was more showing how she's changed and how she's going to own up to her mistakes. The only thing other than that is actually important for the future of the series is that we get introduced to the Order, barely, because they don't come back, and of course, the blue gem isn't completely charged, so yeah, that will definitely come back.
Remember the Toad Lord meeting Yunin mentioned? Well, Barrel's Warhammer is that meeting. Basically, Sasha pitches the rebellion plan to the Toad Lords. Yumbo, Dead Guy, and Grimes' sister. Yeah, I know, they're not really that important, but whatever. Either way, she gets the Warhammer, but Percy and Braddock abandon her, due to her putting her objectives before them, her friends. This is a pattern with Sasha's character. Her friends come after her objectives. She'll always have her objectives before her friends. And since Grime has that same line of thought, well, that's why he sticks with her. That and he cares about her. Either way, I think this is a great demonstration of Sasha's current mental state and character. And honestly, I just really like the theme. Toad Lords reuniting to see if they take part in a rebellion. That's a pretty cool concept for an episode. Either way, we're moving into the last round of the series. Well, not series. Well, season 2. So, yeah. Hopefully this will release soon. Moving on. Owl House reference. Either way, Bessie and Michelangelo. Anne gets a vest the episode. Snail cute thing. Third temple, moving on. Okay. Final stretch. 4 episodes. Let's go. The third temple. The third temple is pretty good. I thought the reconciliation was done pretty well. The pacing felt natural. They had solid reasons to reconciliate. So yeah, I think Anne and Sasha's reconciliation was pretty well done. Other than that, I think the shippers saw this episode very differently.
Oh, me vengo. Lo suponía.
Yeah, that's how I envisioned them seeing this episode. Either way, there are some remarkable moments, like, you know, Sasha's whole fight with the Titan, which was pretty impressive to say the least.
I even used it in an AMV I did in the middle of this channel's life, I think, but that's not the point. Either way, Third Temple is pretty good, has some pretty cute moments, and ended the rock thing. The dinner is great. I think it shows the best of every character, especially Grime. I love how nice and sophisticated he is, but he's still evil. A far departure from what he is in Season 1, but I love it. I also enjoy Sasha and Sprig's clear hatred for each other. Honestly, it's one of the best things of the episode, and I'm kinda sad that was the last we saw of it. Wish there was more of it in Season 3, because there was definitely a reason for it to be in Season 3, and yeah. I think it's great. Definitely one of the best of Season 2 by far. I love the twist that Grime's crazy-ass volcano is actually a very casual thing. I love that for some reason. Either way, moving on.
Could you at least remove the sword? And the hidden daggers?
But what if I need them?
How did you even walk?
Battle of the Bands is great. It is one of the best episodes of the entire series. It is one of the greatest songs of the entire series. Not the best. The Season 2 trailer is still the best song, but either way, I think it's great. This definitely fully redeems Sasha, and is definitely shown of all the development the characters have had up to this point. And by characters, I mean her and Anne, because that's really the only characters we see interacting in a meaningful way. I do find it weird how Toadie is the one to redeem Sasha. It is kinda weird, but it does earn him a top status on my tier list. So yeah. And you know, I could name a bunch more positives, but this episode is kind of conflicting to me, because I know what happens in True Colors, which is the next episode, and it's kinda weird. You know, this episode makes it seem like Sasha and Grime are fully good guys, you know? Like, they're cool with the main cast. But in True Colors, they straight up betray the main cast and throw them into a dungeon. This is kind of conflicting with this episode, but it's still pretty good, you know? The only other complaint I have is this is another great opportunity to do a Sasha and Sprig episode and have Sprig redeem Sasha, which would have been 10 times better than Toadie. I mean, come on, it would have made more sense. What did it cost you, Matt? What did it cost you? Either way, another complaint I have is that the episode isn't 3 hours and 20 minutes, and yes, those 3 hours are the Grime song, but damn it, that would have been worth it. I love Grime in this episode. He is by far one of the highlights of Season 2. Either way, it's finally time to end Season 2. I'm not mentally ready for this. I'm informing you now. I am not mentally ready for this at all. But let's go. You know, if I didn't know how to do Reunion, I don't know how the hell am I going to do True Colors, but here we go. True Colors, the best episode of all of Amphibia, or at least one of the best. That is not a debate, that is not a thing. Yeah, it got leaked, but hey, this is Disney we're talking about. Of course they leak an important episode of a cartoon. Either way, I'm going to follow the similar structure that I did with other important episodes, so let's do this. Okay, speedrun summary, ready, set, go. We are at Utopia, get the box to Andreas. No, we don't. Sasha steals it. The Toads take over Utopia. Damn, are those guys efficient. Too bad they'll be damn near useless in a few minutes. Either way, Anne gets pissed at Sasha. Reasonably. But either way, Sasha gets pissed back and, well, she throws her into a dungeon. What a good friend. Either way, Anne says this isn't over and they're not friends anymore. Boy, will she eat those words in a few episodes. Either way, they get thrown into the dungeon, but escape thanks to you, Nan. Thanks, bro. Either way, they formulate a plan to somehow stop the Toads. Hop Hop acts mediocrely. Polly and the robot and the efficient person destroy the Toads in a physical manner. And in Sprig, go to spin a thing. Either way, while redecorating, Sasha gets a sword, reflects on how she's a bad person, even though she should have realistically been reflecting that she is concerning her reactions at the end of the third temple and the entirety of Battle of the Bands and the dinner. But either way, they discover that Andres is evil. Wow, you guys have to be the smartest here. Either way, they go, and well, Anne doesn't want to cooperate because she doesn't trust Sasha reasonably. For some reason, she trusts her later, but either way, they have a big epic duel. I remember the music differently. Either way, Sasha loses because she's not trying to kill Anne. Sprig defeats Grime somehow, even though he was able to go toe-to-toe with Yunnan at his worst physical state with a stick. He can't take care of a frog with one of the legendary weapons of a hero that is supercharged with calamity powers. Sure. Well, either way, Polly scratches her butt, and, well, the rebellion is stopped. Yep, the Toadlords never did anything efficient. Either way, Andreas gets the music box, despite Sasha's warnings, and explains his entire backstory on how Newtopia was oh so great, but thanks to his mistake, aka he was betrayed by friends as well. Wow, what a coincidence. He lost the music box. But now he has it back, and now he's evil, and now everybody knows he's evil. He also reveals that Marcy got them stuck here knowing fully that the music box worked. Marcy says a bunch of sick shit that shows that Anne is the only sane person here. For the moment. Either way, yeah, Anne kinda decides, you know what, all these people betrayed me. Might as well work together. They have a big Avengers a la fight with weapons until, you know, they smash Frobo. Polly gets her legs. They grab the music box. Sprig gets kidnapped. Great job, Sprig. Didn't you beat Grime because you were fast and agile? What's stopping you from fleeing from Andreas? He's a huge guy. Yeah, he's pretty quick, but you're quicker. Either way, they put back the music box. Andreas throws Sprig off the window. Gee, what a surprise of an efficient villain. Either way, Anne goes piss Super Saiyan, and I'm probably going to be a bit serious here because, well, it's the epic part of the episode. Either way, Anne, remembering every epic moment with Season 1, and oh my god, they put the ending out. They went hard on this, I'm not going to lie, they went hard on this. And goes Super Saiyan Blue, extracting the power from the gen that was left in her in the second temple. Beats up Andreas, rather epically, I must say. Marcy saves Sprig, as Anne is beating up Andreas, but she runs out of juice, because guess what? You have 2 rings, Anne. I guess 20 more accurately, but still. Either way, Andreas is about to kill Anne, but Marcy opens a portal. And yeah, Andreas doesn't like that. He's the only one he can open portals to conquer other worlds. Either way, Marcy maintains it open while Sasha holds Andreas and gets thrown at a retcon window. Yeah, you'll see. Either way, the planters and Anne manage to go through the portal, but Marcy has to do something. I don't really know what she was trying to do here, honestly. It's never explained, but she gets stabbed. Oh, good. I love child murders. They're so relatable. Either way, yeah, that's basically the summary of the episode. And the planters end up on Earth. Sasha is falling off a window in Amphibia. No, she isn't. That was retconned. And Marcy is stabbed. Oh yeah, and the season 3 intro. Either way, let's talk about this episode. Okay, let's get the bat stuff out of the way. Yes, there is bad stuff. Let's start up with something I mentioned. How the hell did Grime beat Sprig? Seems Grime's previous feats at his low points, he should have easily handled Sprig, but no. Apparently, Sprig's speed outhands any strength, IQ, battle IQ, experience, hacks and abilities, weapons, combat speed, combat experience that, Grime has. And Grime isn't slow. He does some pretty quick and slick movements here. So, it's pretty weird that he got defeated, especially when he was able to hold his own pretty well with Yunnan at one of his low points. Another thing I find pretty weird is that the Toad Lords never do anything after this. Not anything meaningful. When Yunnan mentioned them, I thought they were going to be some sort of secondary villain. Some sort of influence on Sasha to become more of a villain. But no, they were just kind of used by Sasha. Besides Beatrix, I don't think any of them appear again. I mean, I get the old man, but the samurai guy looked cool. Either way. Yeah, the episode was leaked. But this is Disney we're talking about again. They can't keep an episode before the release date for the life of them, so yeah, I'm not surprised. And Sasha's development from the dinner and the Battle of the Bands is thrown under the bus. Yeah. I'm sorry, I cannot see the Sasha that came off of those two episodes betraying Anne and Marcy after restoring their friendship and having basically the best version of it. If the rebellion happened by accident, that would have been fine. But no, Sasha started all this rebellion willingly. She threw the command. She saw Grime give the signal. Everything was orchestrated by her, and it was her plan. And yeah, I find this quite a bit inconsistency. Because, I'm sorry, I just don't see it. All the development she had in those episodes is basically just done here, again, after being forgotten at the beginning of this episode. I'm sorry, it makes no sense. Either way, those are my gripes with the episode. I know they're a bit... I know that's a bit of a thing, but you know what? I still think this episode is great. The fight scenes are great. The moments are great. Characters get their time to shine. The emotion is everywhere. It has a great bombastic ending, a cliffhanger. It's basically everything that, this makes this series special and that the series does greatly. Something that I think is greatly forgotten in the first 17 episodes of Season 3. I'm not saying those episodes are bad, but I'm thinking that those episodes kind of don't capture the magic Amphibia originally had. At least not in the same way. We will get to Season 3 next time, and in a few minutes I will talk about it. But either way, here everything is all over the place, and it all feels super connected. Sprig and Anne's relationship, Marcy's death and tragic backstory, kinda. Andreas' story. It all feels connected and well-paced and explained with enough reasons and logic to understand why these characters are here and committing the actions they commit. It makes sense. And that is why True Colors is great. And the credits, man, they show us all the moments. I didn't talk about it in Battle of the Bands, but I love the group picture shown at the ending of that episode. I love it. Either way, let's move on to theories and information on Season 3. Okay, there's no theories. The creators were pretty clear on what they wanted to do with Season 3. And yeah, with the Season 3 intro, there wasn't much left to theorize about. And the Season 3 intro was only at the end of True Colors because of the leak that happened with True Colors. I don't know why Matt Brawley did this. I guess to throw the fandom a bone, but he was the real victim of the all situation. And yeah, I don't really know why he did this. But okay, I am really thankful for it. It gave us a lot of content to talk about. either way, I will bring up my own theory on Darcy. I remember I said she was going to be roboticized and that she was going to have a Neo-Metal Sonic form, which would have been really cool. But in the end, well, she kind of just grabbed the moon. Similar to the comet of the Space Colony arc. I got the theory right. No, I didn't. Either way, yeah. A few months passed with Amphibia having ended. And I don't remember when this was. I think it was like, I want to say September, but yeah, I don't really know. September of 2021, around that time, we got confirmed that Amphibia would be returning October 3rd, I believe, with the first half of the 3rd season. And later we got revealed titles and all that juicy stuff that I won't be talking about because at that point I'd just rather talk about the episodes, which will be in part 3. So, without further ado, let's get into the conclusion of this story, Amphibia Season 3. Let's go. Okay, finally, dude. It's been months. This has been in production since August, I think. Dude, it's been so long. School has honestly been the main thing slowing me down. I'm honestly surprised I managed to record everything while I'll still here. Either way, it is the beginning of February, so this video will be the latest, but technically the latest I said it would be. So, either way, thank you all for watching. Please consider subscribing. I know I won't be uploading much more videos onto this channel, but I will move on to the new one, and I will show it through this one. So, please subscribe. Consider giving a like. Only like 40 people watched the original, and you know what? That's more than I ever could ask for. Thanks a lot, and see you in Season 3.